Asmadgurubhyo Namaha, Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. So we'll talk about the second part of it. Now I'll describe the science of these mudras, how the mudras work. So in the previous video, we talked about 5 elements and the origin of this universe and how the 5 elements are created and how these 5 fingers represent the 5 elements. Now let's talk about the basics of mudras in this video, and then we will, in the next video, from the next video onwards, we will talk about some of the basic mudras to the knowledge that extent I have. Now this is all whatever I could understand. My intellect is limited, but I'm still trying to get answers to more of this. So as I said, thumb represents fire, index finger the air, middle finger space, ring finger earth, and the little finger water. So when you join these two fingers like this, remember that the mudras are mainly formed, the easiest of the mudras, there are some complex mudras, are formed by joining the thumb to the various tips of the various fingers. Also you can join to the bases of these fingers, or you can the tips of the other fingers you can join to the base of the thumb. This is the basic mudras. Now there could be complex mudras like 2 tips of the fingers you can join like this, right? You can do these things. How does this work? So first remember that this thumb represents fire element. Manipura chakra it is related to. And fire is basically transformation. We need to remember these properties, right? It transforms things, and like it burns, it changes the nature of certain things, you know, that it's basically changing the interplay between the various elements. Then air is basically, it is something that is movement, right? And it's a transfer. All the vata that we talk about in our is mixture of air and space, and this is what is your the whole nervous system. If you go to what is prana, the first video that I talked about, it is there in this series. If you see, I explained the whole concept of prana beyond this physical body, right? To the extent possible. So air is movement, and space is something that which kind of allows for this movement. Space also is, well, you can see it as something that is empty. It is something that facilitates things. It is something that provides a calm. It is something that is silent. It is something that is the source of everything. It is the most subtle thing. Even after when this body is disintegrated and all these atoms disperse, they are still there, but within this space. And space and time are again related. We know the theories of relativity. We don't go there now. That maybe we can relate that to some of these concepts at a later stage. Then earth. Earth is talking about strength, solidity, again stability, grounding. All of these aspects are there in the earth element. And then water element is again life. It is again causing the flow of the things, just like air, and a transporting agent, and it is the source of prana, right? So earth and food and water, they are actually your the source of prana. That's why prana mudra, you touch these 2 fingers like this. Anyway, so these are the natures of all of these elements, the nature of these elements which basically sustain life, and then this body. And so let us take, what does it mean touching a tip of a thumb to a tip of another thing? As I said, fire, this is most important thing to remember. Fire is transformation. So fire, when you touch, let's say, fire to the index finger represents air element. So there is a balancing that occurs. So from the tip of the fingers, there is independent energies that are coming out, as I said. So this represents fire. From here, the fire energy is coming out. From here, this tip, the air energy, or the principle of air, this is representing, right? That the movement or the transformation, that element is basically being sent out. So rather than losing them to the air, when we try to form this circuit, it basically, this element, air element, is going to the fire element is trying to go to the air element. So there is a circuit formed. This is flowing into this is flowing into this. So there is a circuit that's formed. So the fire energy, when you say the energy related to fire is going this side, or the energy related to the principle or the nature of air is flowing into this, right? These two are touching each other. When you actually do these mudras for some time, you will feel some sort of vibrations, like a pulse you can feel here. So you need to hold the mudras at least for 3-4 minutes before you can start feeling that pulse beat between these two. That is the energy transfer of the nerves talking to each other, nerve endings that are talking to each other. So this is supposed to be a balancing kind of thing because the forces are equal here. So what the fire does is, the fire, while balancing itself, it tries to balance the other element because they are in equal proportions at this point, the air and the fire. So when you mix two of them together, they are trying to balance each other. So when you say balance, if let's say within the body there is more air element, then the fire tries to take that space or reduce that air element and balance it out such that it is uniform in the body. And so how does that occur? We already talked about it, right? How fire is a transforming thing, right? It can eliminate some of the things from a particular. So air is also made up of all the elements within it, right? All the 5 elements. So when you say I'm reducing the air, some element or some aspect of the air is being reduced by the fire. What could it be? Maybe the water part of it is being taken out, or maybe the air particles are expanding. As you know, hot air expands and then goes upwards and then becomes water. So a condensed particles can be becoming, can be distributed further. So in a particular region of the body, for example, if there is a dense air, this thing, there's more air, whatever say, maybe the particles are getting distributed, more space element is happening. So the air is getting reduced. And similarly, when you say there is a balancing of the space, when you touch the middle fingertip with the this tip of the thumb, then there is a balancing of the space element. This is the Akasha Mudra, right? So this is the Chin Mudra, Jnana Mudra, this is Akasha Mudra. Now how does space gets balanced? Space is what you are trying to, if the space is less, if there is a constriction within the body, how does space gets increased by fire? So fire might be burning earth, or it might be taking out the water aspect of it, such that the internal what do you say, the vessels, the blood vessels, or whatever the sinuses, etc., the muscles that are contracted, they can become lighter and they can dilate due to fire. Fire is again causing that transformation. Similarly, if the space element is more than needed, again it is reduced by fire. How? For example, fire, when it burns, it creates smoke. It can fill up the space with itself, right? That is one way to look at it. There could be other ways wherein it could it could heat up the water element. Water can become vapor, that air can occupy the space. Similarly, it can cause the earth to give out some of these contents like air or water, and then again you have this space being consumed by something. So there is a balancing. If the space is more, it is being balanced by fire. To reduce, if the space is less, it is again being balanced, so that there is an optimal thing. So there is a balance. The requisite energy, the basic resting potential of each element that is needed, right? So you need these elements in balance, and that is what this transformation is being caused by the fire. In itself, it is trying to reduce itself or grow itself while trying to balance the other elements. Similarly, this is Prithvi Tattva. Increase of Prithvi means if you have lesser bony content or this thing, fire can basically cause that particular aspect of earth to increase, because fire has an earth element within it. We need to remember that every element has the other elements in it. So it is contributing to that and say, okay, you are less in this aspect, so I will give you that. I will give you that. And then the earth element is in this. If the earth element is more, then that is burnt by this fire. So that is where, when I say the energies are trying to balance each other at these tips, they are trying to get to an equilibrium state, right? You can treat it something similar to the resting potential of a cell within your body, which we'll talk about later. and then this one is your balancing of water and this thing. So this is the basics of at the tips. Now there is some other concept also that they say that this was something difficult for me to understand. If you place, instead of here, if you place this tip of this index finger at the base of the thumb, then basically that element is being reduced. Here air element is being balanced, but here the air element is being reduced. How? Because and this is how I could think of it. So imagine if you cut this finger here versus here, where will the blood flow occur more? Here, right? When you cut this the base of the thumb, right? So if this thumb is representing a fire element, maybe there is more fire here than here. This is my assumption. So when you touch, if you are trying to touch it here, there is less fire, or there is a balanced element, there is a balanced interaction between these two. But when I am trying to touch this here, then the air element is talking to, or it's forming a circuit at a location where there is a higher fire element. So the fire dominates and it says air you reduce, right? Basically, so it takes from the air, and then that's what is happening here. You can see this, right? For example, if the air is less, or rather, I would say an easier example would be if the water is less, then the fire is more, then the fire evaporates that water. But if the water is more or the earth is more, then they can expunge the fire. Similarly, if the air is more, it can expunge the fire. But if the fire is already burning, I know when I say fire needs oxygen, I'm not saying that part of it. But if you try to, there is some air around it and other things, it is contributing to the fire. That's way, right? That's how, and allowing the fire to grow rather than the other way, right? Rather than the full breeze of air, if you throw it, if the air power is more, then it can expunge that fire, right? So here the air is contributing to the fire, like the oxygen is allowing the fire to grow. When I say air or vayu, it just doesn't mean oxygen, right? It is prana. That vata, these two are vata, index finger and middle finger. That's even more than just oxygen. When I say water, it's not just fluid. When I say fire, it's not just fire, it is also a fluid, it's a plasma, as we discussed during the creation. It is the gaseous juices that we are talking about. So you need to relate these things. Then that is how, if you place this akasha at this thing, it reduces. If you place this earth, the earth element is reduced. So this is, if you have too much of earth element or too much of kapha or whatever, you can reduce the air or water elements by placing these fingers at the base of the thumb. Similarly, the other way, if you place the thumb at the base of these other elements, it is like gas stove mein, we basically go and light it at the base, right? So this fire is being lit at the base of these things, so it is increasing these elements. So if I place the fire element here, it is increasing the air element. Here it is increasing the water element. Again, you can relate, maybe the concentration of the water element is more here, right? So when I place the fire element here, the fire says I contribute to you because you are more here. Your concentration, the water wins. It can expunge the fire, take the element of water from the fire into itself. If I place it here, the earth element wins. That's how you place this at this particular thing, because the concentration of this air element in this index finger is more here than here. Here it's a balancing act. Here the air element is increasing. Here the air element is being balanced by fire. Here the air element is being enhanced by the fire, like you're cooking something and then on a flame, and you take the lighter and light it here. So these things is being constantly cooked if you place the fire element here. Easy to understand, but that could be the actual reason behind that. So these mudras and other things, they are kind of considered as okay, a non-scientific stuff, but if you relate it to the Pancha Bhutas, and then you can, if you start experiencing that, I have experienced it. So I do Apana Mudra daily in the morning, and immediately within 5 minutes, I don't feel constipated. I go to my nature's call, right? Even if I want for one nature's call, it cleanses my whole gut. If I sit in Apana Mudra for some time, this is something that I have experienced regularly. The other mudras I am trying to experience. So this is where this whole thing is starting. Okay, and the next video onwards, we will start understanding some of the basic mudras, the single tip-to-tip mudras. That is the easiest. They are not also easy, but somewhat easy to understand. I will try to relate those mudras to the physiology, and we'll discuss that. अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रीमते रामानुजाय नमः।